We're back. It's Roll for Mischief time yet again. Thank you for joining us. Drew is still cold. Uh, I,
I
I,
still have a cold.
Asa has a cold. I'm also cold.
My
Uh,
fireplace is on.
as you can see. The name of the game is Voloheen, Winds of War. The name of this episode, episode 12, which we're just about to wrap up here, is Finnegan's Finporium. The subtitle for this one being The Final Countdown. When we
Kyle, I'm
what?
so sorry, but right now you really do remind me of Rick Moranis from Spaceballs.
He looks like Darth Helmet.
Darth Helmet! I mean, Dark Helmet.
Oh man. I wish I could just remember a good quote from that film right off the top of my head, but my mind's
Everyone knows
blank.
that I drink coffee when I look at radar.
There you go. Oh wait, no,
I'm surrounded by assholes. Oh, yeah, that's what you said, isn't it?
That is what I just said.
Yeah.
I got the
I
beeps,
didn't hear you. I was
creeps,
talking.
and the sweeps.
The
The what?
creep.
The what? The what? Okay. Anyways, when we last left our characters, they were having a bit of an argument with this gal named Fania, who actually is not just a gal, but an Azamar goddess, who has been keeping Shar, a tiefling goddess, completely bound up in for goodness knows how long. And our characters have, for the better or for worse, upset the balance of power in this particular situation and allowed Shar to break free from her bonds. After which, Shar zoomed right up to Fania, took out her own black lightsaber, and just ran Fania straight through the back. So I imagine that's the crazy, fucked up moment that we find ourselves in right now.
Yep.
Yep.
So, Shah pulls the blade slowly back out of the body of Fania. Fania's eyes go wide, and then her head tilts back, and bright light spills out into the room. She drips light from the wound, almost like molten metal. It's that like bright white but liquidy. And she slumps to the ground. And then there's another flash of light that, to everyone but Aigner, is blinding. And then, when it disappears, Shara is left standing standing where she was, behind where Fenya was. And what drops to the floor? Aigner, everything kind of goes oddly silent to you when this flash of light happens. And it's like your attention's been drawn to one thing. And there's a noise that's like a drop of water onto a still surface of water, pool of water.
Mm-hmm.
And you can feel it radiating out from where it dropped.
Like
That something's
like
dropped
ripples.
Yeah.
So I could like follow the ripples to where they become more like concentrated and kind of like find the center of it. Is it up front where I had heard Fania's voice coming from?
Yeah, so it's where her body fell. The rest of you will see that on the floor there's scattered a couple of bits of belongings that doesn't seem to have disappeared with her body. But Shah still stands looking down at where the body was. And she rolls her shoulders as if stretching for the first time in thousands and thousands of years. And then looks to Leah and says out loud this time, "Thank you."
Good.
I don't know if this was right.
What happened?
Ragnar.
Pena appears to be dead. And then he'll turn to Shar and say, And now what will you do?
I'll return to my rightful place in my... I don't really know what you call... Court of Gods.
Alright?
Pantheon.
There we
Domain.
go. That's it.
Yeah, Pantheon, domain.
One of those things.
Whichever one.
She says a word that makes sense. And I will be able to restore power to the tiefling population. However, Leah, and she seems to know your name without having been told it. And she moves over to, so they are tall. They're like, you know, twice, 3 times the size of a person. And she bends, so kneels down, so she's directly in front of you, Leah, and all of her attention seems to be on you, even when other people are asking her questions. Like, she doesn't really move her focus from you. Leodin, I will struggle to do this on my own. I will require an envoy of sorts to interact with the tiefling and to spread word of the truth and to instill a hope within them. I feel a great strength in you, one I have seen before in those above the mortal levels. I would like to request your assistance further in exchange for continued help with the control of the power that you are struggling with.
I can't have that kind of power.
Child, you already have power greater than that within you.
I can't have that kind of influence over people. That would destroy everything. And you say that you can give me control, but I don't know where this comes from, why it happens. But I cannot be a figurehead for anything.
She smiles softly. It's almost as if she's talking to a child, and she seems to be soothing you. And what you do also notice is, although since she brought those walls down, these feelings of like worry and trepidation should kind of now be seeping out into the room. She doesn't seem to be feeling any of it. She seems to be focused completely on you and trying to make you feel better. So she smiles at you softly and says, I understand. And I understand that this would be a big task for you to accept so rashly. So, I'm willing to make you this offer. And she pulls out of, so she's in kind of loose robes, and she puts her hand into one of the pockets. And there's almost like a light as if she's pulling it from somewhere else, but it's coming out of her pocket. And she hands you a shard of glass, and it looks like, like sea glass that's all kind of smoothed down. It's like pure black. And she puts it gently in your hand and presses your other hand over the top of it, and I knocked my microphone off the table. And looks at you and says, think about my offer. If you change your mind, or you would like to talk about it again further, simply activate this item. You'll know how to use it when you want to use it. For now, I would still like to help you as a thank you for releasing me. I can see you have a great bond to this elf, and she gestures towards Eridu. This is all happening out loud, so you guys can hear all of this fine. You have a great bond to him, and you are fearful of things harming him. So as a thank you, I'm going to create a bond between the two of you deeper than your current one that will act as a protection for you both. It will, as long as you stick together, it will help you greatly.
Will it protect him from me?
That is something that I can help you with if you take my offer. This is merely something to help you keep each other alive.
Let him decide.
She glances over to Eridu, but you can tell that her attention is pretty much fixed on Leah.
It's not just up to me.
So she's offering something to help protect me and keep me alive, like a bond between the two of us?
Mhm.
Or is it specifically also guarding me from Leah's power?
So she said that it's not gonna affect the powers.
Right.
She can do that if Leah takes her offer, her other offer. But this is something to help keep the two of you alive.
The two
Leah.
of us. Okay.
Leah would very much like for Eridu to continue to stay alive.
Yeah. And Eridu would very much like Leah to continue to stay alive.
Yeah. And they're both a little less sure about themselves, I would imagine.
They are both a little less sure about themselves. Yes. Eridu is going to look at Leah and say, I've seen a future in which I make choices that I am afraid of. If that future ever comes to pass, you need to have a way to stop me. Is that something you can do?
You're asking the...
Leah.
Oh, you're asking me.
Specifically.
Oh, you're asking me if I'm willing
to stop him. That's a pretty dark way of putting that. I like it. You're just automatically casting Eridu in this villainous kind of light, like in the future. Wow.
Stop you from what?
Becoming our father.
You would never do that.
That is also what I have thought. But sometimes hard decisions are made for the future, and none of us truly knows what the future holds.
I would.
Very well. To keep my sister safe as a balance to the potential danger that I could present to this world, I will accept your gift. As will she.
She nods her head and gestures for you both to hold hands. When you do, she clasps her hands around yours. They are a lot bigger than your hands, but and you feel a warmth flow out from her hands and into the both of you, and you feel it. It's like you can feel it passing through each other, and for this moment, you feel like you are one and the same person.
As that's happening, Eridu just looks at Leah and says, "I love you, sister."
So,
Don't cry. Don't cry. It's okay.
Go cry.
Okay.
I'm gonna cry.
so you receive Shah's blessing. I'm calling it. Essentially, you now, for the next week, get a +2 to AC when you're within 30 feet of each other. You also now, indefinitely, if you are within 30 feet of each other and one of you is to take damage, you can use a reaction to roll hit dice that then move your HP, that amount from your health to the other person's health if you get my drift.
Wow.
Cool.
Interesting.
Write that down somewhere because I'm gonna forget.
I'm writing it down as well for you guys.
Oh, thanks. I'm writing it down, but I'll probably lose the piece of paper I'm writing it on, so.
You also, when she pulls her hand away, you can see for a short time a black sort of band around both of your wrists, which then sinks in to your wrists. And you realize that when you concentrate, you can feel the other person's pulse.
Ooh.
What that means right now, you don't necessarily know, but... and then she takes a step back, looks directly at Leah and says, "Please do reconsider my offer." And then
Thank you.
she takes another step backwards and essentially disappears as if she's stepping through something. And you're left alone in this room. There are 3 things on the floor, which Agner is being sort of pulled towards.
Agner will do it as soon as he feels the the presence of Shar disappear from the room, and he feels that emptiness and feels that what has got to be the most like deafening silence, you know, that's maybe happened ever after Shar disappears and Leah and Eridur are looking at each other like, what the fuck just happened? And Halifax is scratching his beard and going, And there's got to be just an absolute deafening silent moment. And Agner, without saying anything, without really showing any kind of emotion on his face, is just drawn forward. And he steps one foot in front of the other until he is at the center of what is calling him.
You reach down to the floor and you pick up 3 items. One is a book that feels... It is solid, but it almost feels like it could not be there as well. One is the hilt of a sword, and the other is essentially like the handle of a shield without the like actual dome of a shield on it.
Like maybe those things turn into light.
Who knows?
Who knows? Maybe they do. Maybe they
You
do.
get a light shield saber.
While
Yeah.
Ignor's doing that, Leah has basically sunk to the floor with her head in her hands like, oh my god, what did I just do? Also, her shields are completely down, so everyone else gets to feel, oh my god, what did I just do?
Egner will start to wonder out loud, so what the hell did we just do anyway? And as he's walking back over, carrying the bundle of items in his arms, he'll take the weird kind of translucent-y book that feels like it's there and not really there at the same time. He'll take that, try and thumb through a few pages, and then realize, like, what the hell am I doing? And then he'll hand it over to Halifax. Maybe you can make sense of this. These, holding the other 2 items, I think I might be able to do something with these.
Indeed. They certainly seem more up your alley. Reading not exactly your strong suit at the moment.
No, sir. But I can listen really well. I mean, if you find anything interesting in there, be sure to tell me.
I will. Halifax will be distracted by where Fania disappeared. He'll have stared at that for most of all this. And I'll just start wandering around the room. In fact, I'll sort of like absently move towards Fania's throne because it's somewhere to sit down, and I'll just sit on that while leafing through this book.
Nice.
Nothing happens when you sit on the throne. You're not like teleported anywhere.
He's not
or...
crowned the king of the Azamar.
Suddenly king, no.
We all just bow to you.
It's not very comfortable. You think she's been sat on here for a long time, and it's not a very nice seat. The book is empty, but what you do kind of work out is that it's a spell book. But it seems to be made of something you don't even know. It seems magical in itself. And essentially, I'm just going to tell you what it does. So you can transfer your spells into this spell book, which then means it becomes yours. It belongs to you until, like what just happened, you die. And essentially, it can't be destroyed. It will return to you. It will return to its original owner if it gets like lost somewhere. And it doesn't take up any sort of like space in your bag or like carrying capacity or anything like that. It's just kind of a fancy spell book, really.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's going to be expensive transferring everything over, but might
well,
be
you
worth it.
feel like it might not be quite the same as a normal spell book.
Like
you just feel like you might need to spend some time with it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I will, I'll tuck that away and, sitting on the throne, I'll just lean back and have a look. Because this room seems to be just very plain, then, from what I'm getting.
Yeah.
No murals, no nothing.
Nothing.
Mm-hmm.
It's a prison
You could
cell,
at least put a
essentially.
poster up or something, you know?
Yeah, you'd think, wouldn't you? So there's only the door that you came in. There's no other exits.
Egner will try and fiddle with the sword hilt and the shield handle a little bit.
Okay. You work out that you can activate both, and they do both turn into, as previously described. So actually, well...
We didn't see her use the shield one.
No, you didn't. Mm-hmm. So as you mess around with the shield hilt, you realise that kind of... How to explain this? So you hold it in your hand, and you manage to activate it, and it turns into this blinding... Not that you can see. You can feel it. It's like heat and energy. But to everyone else, it's like blinding white shield dome. And you feel like it's attached to where you're holding it. So if you were to say, like, drop it or anything, like, you can't really drop it easily. So you get the impression that if, say, you were to kind of put it against your arm, it would perhaps attach itself to your arm, so you would then have, like, a hand free.
Huh. Interesting.
And then you can activate it in and out, so like you don't have to keep putting your shield away, basically.
Oh, okay.
And the sword, it does basically what you saw it do before. It erupts with light and becomes a blade of light.
Word.
Lightsaber.
Egner's got a lightsaber.
Dude.
Egner's a Jedi.
You're blind. You're gonna end up cutting yourself so good.
Eric!
Hello, Eric.
Hello. Hey, my
that
character has a lightsaber. What a bad idea is that? He's a blind guy with a lightsaber. This is gonna be awesome. He's gonna be alright. He's gonna be just fine.
Gives Kyle a chance to live out his childhood fantasy.
Oh yeah.
Of being blind?
Being blind, Jedi?
Yes, exactly. No, just the blind. Alex nailed it right. That's what Kyle's always wanted to be.
No, there's a internet video is gonna resurface where it's me in a garage with like a wooden dowel that's spray painted and like.
But you're gonna have a blindfold wrapped around your face. Anywho,
Anywho,
Hmm.
hey everyone, that's Eric, and we like him a lot. Just to let you know, he's our old dungeon master, and we think of
we
him often
tolerate
in this
him
game.
a lot.
We tolerate.
They talk about him a lot.
I mean, some of us do.
Some
Not
people.
me. I'm all salty over here because I haven't seen Eric in forever and I miss you so much.
Aww.
I gotta hide my feelings behind anger.
Aww.
So,
So,
Okay. So to kind of move this along a little bit, there is only one door out. So you're kind of going back the way you came.
well, I gotta say a thing because everyone else gotta do stuff and I didn't.
All right.
So, it's gonna be fairly quick. But when it comes to the emotions washing over everyone having to do with what they just did, Eridu stoically makes his way to Leah and sits down next to her, puts an arm around her, and says, "We made a choice, and whatever comes from here is not within our control. But we did what we thought was best."
Well, I did something.
No, not you alone. I did it too. So did Agner, so did Halifax. We will bear the responsibilities together because we are family.
She won't know what to say.
Okay, well, we can move on then.
okay. Before just before we move on, Agner's gonna sit down after having fiddled with his little things. He's gonna put them away in his pockets or whatever, and he's gonna sit down not on the throne where Halifax is thumbing through his empty book, but maybe it's like one of those kind of multi-tiered little things that you walk up to, and Agner's just sitting on that first step. So he's close to Halifax, and he just breathes out a heavy sigh and turns his head around to where the group members are and says, "Yeah, we might have really screwed the pooch on this one, but only one way to find out. We just got to keep on moving forward and not be too hard on ourselves, honestly. I still don't quite understand what happened, and up until that dramatic moment, I was still pretty convinced that these were both completely fake, that it was an illusion. But now I'm not so sure. And I think collectively we just need to figure out what this all means." And with that, he'll take out of his pouch the sending stone that is supposedly connected to Finnegan, and he'll bark into it. "I suppose you wouldn't be of any help at all right now. Haven't heard from you in a while."
You get no response.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Just fucking silent. When we need the most advice, you got nothing to say. That's what I thought. So whatever.
Okay. So, moving you on. You are kind of forced to head out the way you came. You notice that the flame doors are gone. It's like all of the sort of divine energy that was holding this place together has now fallen away since the two gods in there have gone. It's almost like they were essentially powering it just by their presence being there. You head back through. The scales are gone. They don't exist anymore. The mace is still on the floor. and the other doors are empty. You walk into the snake cavern. The body is still there, but there's nothing. It's not moved. Nothing is moving in there. And
Egner will be really petty and turn on his fucking lightsaber and hack the snake body apart a little bit more, and have that and you little stupid fucking.
And I'm gonna grab a few of these basilisk's fangs in case we come across Horcruxes.
Ayo.
okay.
I'm not really collecting teeth. That's just. I'm not that kind of character.
And then you reach the door that leads back to the jail level. And Agner, you hear this first. You hear footsteps and a clanking sound of like metal on metal in that room.
Okay.
Before you head in.
Shh. Everyone, be on your guard. We have company. And Egner will grip the sword hilt of his new lightsaber and, gritting his teeth and preparing for the worst, he will dramatically open the door.
Okay. You see a woman standing with her back to you. Well, you don't. Ugh, this is so difficult. There is a woman standing with her back to you. Everyone else can see that she's wearing what looks like a stretchy leather bodysuit. She has weapons strapped almost lazily to her hip, and they're weapons that you don't recognize. Like, they don't really make sense. They look a little bit like the guns you've seen, but not quite. And there's a loop of what looks like small blocks wrapping around her torso. She's pulling the door of one of the jails closed, and then turns to look at you. At first, her face is covered by a helmet with a visor, but it's not like not like a metal one. Again, it's not really anything you've seen before. She touches a button at the side of it, and it scoops back in one fluid motion and pulls back to just be a band at the top of her head. She's human. She looks to be in about her late 50s, but she's looking good for it. Her skin's tight and tanned. She has toned muscles, and her hair is cut like really short. You see, just creeping around the side of her, like a little hunched metal dog. Looks like a metal dog. It takes you a moment for it to click, but this looks a lot like Ellie, but in like 25 years or later, 30 years.
Egner will say, "Identify yourself."
She smells like Ellie.
She...
That's why we call her Smelly.
Oh. No.
Uh-oh. Asa
Oh,
just
man.
started a thing.
Someone else's name gets abused. Oh no.
Yeah, worse way. Anyway.
Right.
Oh, he went there, Adu.
Oh man.
She says, my name is Elena. Don't bother introducing yourselves. I already know who you are. In fact, I have a bone to pick with each of you. Setting all of these guys free has set my work back by about 30 years. So thank you.
What can we say except you're welcome?
No, I'm not taking any more of your lip, Eridu. I mean, look. Just need to get you back to Finnegan. Let's
Why
just
are you
go.
capturing Finnegans in the first place?
If you've seen some of the things that these guys have brought upon the world, you would be putting them in here too. Trust me.
Okay.
Mad Finnegan is not something that you want kicking around the world.
Something I find odd about you, Elena, is that you remind me of someone. Have we met before?
Well, I've met a Halifax. Although I'm sorry to say, but my Halifax died many years ago. As
Oh.
is as did Eridu and Aigner, sadly. Leo, though, it's a pleasure to meet another version of you. I hope that you are as able and accomplished in your field as you are in my world. You make an excellent pilot if you ever feel like stepping aboard a ship.
How
Did your-
sure.
Bemusement is coming out of
Did your Halifax, Agner, and Eridu, were they all sent through one of these meat grinders?
No,
Finnegan?
no. They died a long time before Finn started sending people here. That man, I don't know. I mean, look, apparently he was correct this time. It worked. It's a shame about all of the other ones, but what are you
No.
gonna do?
A man so far-reachingly dangerous, why don't you just kill all the versions that you find? What's the point in imprisoning them?
That's a good question. Finn wants to keep them alive. I mean, I can only argue so many of his points. I mean, really, it's pointless. You've got to pick your battles, you know?
Are you telling me you're capturing Finnegans for Finnegan?
Yeah.
How bizarre.
Very bizarre, and I have so many questions. I really do, but I guess
Let's
the
walk and talk. Let's walk and talk.
Yeah,
She
oh.
starts walking down the corridor, like cheering you on. She's
Okay.
very like seems to be like on mission,
for sure. Well,
but she's willing to talk.
Agner will awkwardly follow, still trying to have his brain catch up to like what's actually happening right now, and he'll ask, "So the Finnegan that you know is the one that we know that sent us down here. Do you have any idea of what it was that he was trying to get us to accomplish? Because we did some shit down here that I don't know if he even knows about yet, or really has any particular opinions about, or I don't know. I'm just trying to figure it all out for myself."
Well, he told me that. Well, start again. When we came down here and were setting up the jail cell system, we discovered the weird doorway down the ancient Asimar doorway that you've just come out of, in fact. And he went down, scouted it out, came running back up, shrieking about some time god. So he decided to send down apparently the most able-bodied people he knew, but you know, to kind of take care of that and then see what was further down. You know, he brushed it off as having, you know, like he's got more important things to do and he needs to do the research on it. But I mean, between me and you, like he was petrified.
He seems the cowardly type.
He can be brave when the time comes, but if he can opt out of it, he will.
So he did not know exactly what it was that was at the end of all of those doors.
I feel like he said as much at the beginning.
But we didn't know if we could trust his word on that. I mean, we spent much of our time down here wondering if this was all some grand conspiracy, or maybe that was just me. Maybe I shouldn't be speaking for the entire group there, but the point
He
stands.
did do a lot of thinking.
Yeah.
He's a complicated man, but also a very simple man. I mean, he's harmless, really. Well, you know, as much as he can be.
Yeah, that's not the word I would use, but sure.
But no, neither of us had any idea what was further down there.
Well, would you like to know?
Yeah, sure.
Egner will recount in very bland detail. Like he won't like try and make it seem all grand or whatever. He'll just like talk about it as if it's like a list of stuff that he did on his Saturday off of work or whatever. He'd be like, yeah, then I went here, then I did this thing, and then we went over there, and then,
Not this
then the,
gargantuan snake.
yeah, it killed this giant time god snake thing, and then then we went through this other room and had to give up a bunch of personal sacrifices and stuff, and then yeah, we saw some goddess kill another goddess.
Oh,
Leah just
interesting.
kind of like shrinks away from the conversation, like. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean it's something that obviously has very serious consequences and implications as we move forward, but we'll deal with that when we come to there. When we come to it.
I'm sure you will. Agner, if there's anything I know about you, it's how capable you are. And she says it's like very flat tones.
He won't get the subtext at all, and he'll say thank you. I appreciate that.
How capable you are.
Yeah. She brings you out into the lab area rooms, and for the first time in a while, you hear the voiceover speak up, and it says, "Oh, you losers are back." And then Ellie just shouts, "Shut it, Finn!" And he says, "Oh, hey, Ellie, I'll just leave you to it, then." And then it goes awkwardly silent.
Bah!
You're starting to see who, perhaps,
Where's the
is in
pants?
charge of this relationship.
Yep.
She walks you through the corridors of the lab. She pauses for a moment and then steps into the room where Wally was. And she looks at him and she says, "Oh, God. Well, he's just the worst when he's had one of his truly drunken weekends. Does this kind of thing all of the time." And she goes over and she pulls up something that on the glass in front of Wally, presses a few buttons, and it's almost like Wally gets sucked up through the tube top. There's a bit of a panic in his eye, and then she turns around and just walks back out of the room and back along the corridors without further explaining.
Leah will follow after and be like, I hope that was returning Wally to where he came from.
Yeah, I mean, every other day I'm having to send back some character or creature or bloody pop culture reference back to their damn world and timeline. I've tried telling him over and over again. When he's had that many whiskeys and God knows what else he's bringing back from some of those worlds. Anyway, let's keep going. I've got to get you back. She marches you out, and before you get to the room where the orcs were, she slides a hand across one of the walls and almost reveals a secret panel, and presses a couple of buttons, slides it back again, and then keeps walking. In the room with the orcs, she walks past, straight through and towards the exit, and when they turn to look over, she just kind of gives a bit of a wave and barely acknowledges they're there. And they seem to sort of shrug and just accept her presence. And then as you get to the bridge, it has completely solidified, as if what she did has turned it off. Is
there any reason why we couldn't have had this on the way in?
I mean, he said he was testing you, and I suppose he wouldn't see it as a test if he knew how to turn them all off. So,
Trying to get us killed.
well,
And it damn near
that's
worked.
how you want to put it. um, she walks you back through the entire dungeon area. Nothing goes off. All of the trapped rooms that you've seen were trapped are now turned off, essentially. And she walks you up to the entrance to the sort of like wild magic room. And she stops and turns to you and says, well, this is the only room that I can open the portal back out into. It's the only room sort of unstable enough to be able to open a portal anywhere. However, we will need this. And she taps something on like a little display thing she kind of holds in her hand. And it creates a bubble, kind of like the wall of force that Halifax had been using. And it covers...
Ooh, the hamster ball.
and it hamster balls you all. And she walks you into this room. Nothing happens. Nothing affects you as you step in this bubble. She walks over to one of the walls, and she pulls out what looks like a gun, calculates something on it, and then fires it towards the wall. A bright blue light pulls a slit open in the wall, and she reaches forward, sort of through the bubble, but the bubble staying around her fingers, and she physically pulls the portal open, so you can see inside. And then there's a shout. What the? Oh, god damn it! Can I go to the bathroom in peace? Ah! And then as you look through the portal, you can see Finnegan with his back to you, like hastily, like trying to fasten his trousers. And you realise that you're looking into the outhouse that's like right next to Agnes' home.
Of course.
And Ellie looks at you and shrugs and says, I mean, it just takes you to directly where he is, so, you know. And then Finnegan turns round when he's finished arranging himself and looks over at you. Elena, damn it. It's like you do this on purpose. What can I say, old man? You go to the bathroom a lot. She's grinning. God, sir, what do you want? Brought something back to you. And she kind of motions for you to step through the portal. Finnegan kind of steps aside and opens the door, giving you room to all filter into this small outhouse.
Hanging out in the outhouse. I love it. Love it.
All right.
And as you step through,
No, let's step through.
yeah,
Of course.
Finnegan says, "Oh, you're back. I lost track of you when you left my lab. The orb didn't work past there, apparently. You kill a Dahaka for me?
Well, we killed something.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
It
no.
was a thing.
Yeah, no, we killed it, and we did a lot more stuff that I maybe kind of regret. I'm still trying to figure it out. Yeah.
All right. Well, that thing said, I don't really care. So, cool. Good work. You beat the odds, kind of.
So
you don't care about the Dahaka?
it didn't really mean
well-
anything to you?
If it's dead, then, you know, it's safe to go back, isn't it?
Uh-huh. Finnegan, I think you underestimate the amount of peril that my compatriots and I felt that we were in. The amount of danger and sacrifice that we've offered.
Yeah? Go on.
Yes, well, it seems that your lack of recognition of these things is likely to affect our willingness to help you again in the future. Just
Nah,
so
you
that-
always help me, Halifax. I'm not too worried about that.
Mhm.
Look, old man. And then Agner will get all sassy up in his face and say, "You've camped out here. You've shit in my outhouse. You've drank my whiskey. You've probably slept in my bed for all I know with your old man stank. And we went down there and we risked our lives, got swallowed, and then thrown up by an enormous snake, and probably upset the balance of power in this world's pantheon forevermore. And you don't give a shit. So
Yes.
if you don't give a shit, just get out of here. Just get out. I'm back home. I'm in my home. I'm in my outhouse here in Bronzewood Grove. And if you don't give a shit about anything that just happened, then just get out of here.
Yeah, well, I mean, it sounds like a good day's work to me, for sure. And then Elena from the other side of the portal, you hear shout through, "Come on, Grandpa, we've got work to do." And then Finnegan kind of like rolls his eyes and nods, and then nudges Agner, completely ignoring everything you've just said, and says, like, sort of low, but probably loud enough that Elena would hear, but he tries to do it low. He goes, "See, this is what happens when you don't pull your finger out and tie her down. Not like that. Just because you're in the outhouse doesn't mean your mind needs to be. Jeez." Speaking of Ellie, we've been waiting for you. Go, have some fun. Don't do anything I wouldn't do, which, let's face it, isn't much, though. Some advice? Come across a world of hive minds? Just don't go there. On the surface, sounds like a great idea, but my god, just don't. And with that, he steps through the portal and it closes up behind him.
I am so confused and so disturbed.
I think I only understand about 30% of what that man says.
Yeah. Wow.
It could be worse, I suppose. I could understand all of it.
Could be. Egner's going to be the first to storm out of the outhouse, and his mind is on seeing whether or not he's got any whiskey left. Because boy, does he need a stiff drink after today.
So when you come out of the outhouse and you turn towards the Agner's house, whereas before it was all sort of broken and damaged from this fight that had happened, everyone else but Agner can see that it's been fixed up. Like, it looks as good as new, essentially. As you walk towards the door, it flings open, and Ellie stands in the doorway. Her hair, that's usually in like a loose, messy bun, is falling around her shoulders in like soft curls. She's wearing like workers' dungarees with one of the straps unclipped. She seems to jump as she opens the door to you and fumbles something in her hand, and it drops to the floor and smashes. She kind of gasps and says, "Oh, you're back!" And she reaches down, scoops up the thing that she broke, pulls out a tube of what looks kind of like grease from her pocket, rubs a little on her fingers, and then sort of absent-mindedly massages these shards of like hot until it turns back into a cup in her hand, while she's like keeping her eyes on them.
Handy. Ellie, what are you doing here? You're back?
Oh yeah, I wasn't gone for long. I came back right around the time that Finn was watching you with that big head thing, and she blushes heavily.
Egner's eyes go wide, and he blushes pretty heavily and says, "Yeah, a lot of crazy stuff happened down there. It was just hectic, and I just didn't even know what to do the whole time. And I don't know. It really would have helped to have you around to at least tell me what the hell was going on, because none of these people were. I'm telling you that right now."
Oh, yes. I'm sorry I couldn't come with you.
I mean, it's okay. You had to do what you needed to do. I mean, did it go well?
Yes, I think it's all in order now. There's actually Agnes, there's actually something I wanted to show you. Uh, uh, now or in a little bit, if you had a little bit of time.
I mean, I've got time now. The only thing I was going to do was go grab a little bit of whiskey or something. I mean, maybe let me go grab a glass of whiskey, but yeah, sure. I'll see what you got. Sure.
So she steps inside with all of you. Um, the house has seemingly been drunk dry. Like every bottle is empty. The dining table is like covered in empty bottles.
But of course.
I can tell, like, it smells of whiskey in here and alcohols, but that's because all of the tops of the bottles are off. There's some spilled every now and then. Finnegan has left this house in a mess. Like, there are plates with like old food on. I mean, not that old, 'cause it's not been that long, but you know, he's not washed anything up. He's not done much. It does, in fact, look like he's slept in your bed.
Of course.
He's not. You know,
Of course.
he's not been the best house guest.
The worst house guest, actually.
Ellie says, I'm glad that you all came back safe, though. Was it... what happened?
We almost died several times and upset the balance of power in this world's entire divine pantheon, but, you know, no big deal.
Yes, it was certainly quite the ordeal. And it seems that you've saved yourself quite a deal of heartache and confusion by sitting this one out, Ellie. I trust you managed to get sorted what you needed.
Yeah, it all is, well, I say all is good. Things aren't great over in the old Twin Harbour, but maybe we'll deal with that. We'll deal with that maybe tomorrow or another day.
After we get some rest.
Yeah.
Something we sorely need. We all, as part of our trials down there, had to sacrifice a great deal. We could do time to recover.
Yeah, I completely understand. I fixed the place up while you were gone. I think it's pretty much back to how you had it, Agna.
Thank you.
You're welcome. But yes, Agna, if you wouldn't mind, I just want to show you something.
Yeah.
Quickly.
Sure. Yeah, whatever you'd like.
Okay. We'll be back in a minute, she says to everybody else. There's still some, like, you know, milk and water that Finnegan didn't touch. If you wanna.
Oh no, Egner's given up on it. He's just gonna grumble his way out the door, I suppose.
Okay. Okay. So as you step out of the door, the other three in the room will notice that Ellie kind of like, she seems to sort of like try and kind of straighten herself up a bit. She like pats down her hair and kind of straightens her clothes out. And she kind of like breathes a little bit, and then they step out of the door. So outside, the sun is starting to set, and it's cast the sky in like orange and pink hues. Ellie walks Aigner a little away from the house. It's not too far, but it's definitely like out of earshot kind of range. You also walk past Ayn, who's just sort of hanging out in the garden. She seems to have gotten back.
Nice.
Ayn being her big metal owlbear, for people that don't know. So as you walk, she pulls something out of her pocket and kind of shakes a little bit, and it sounds like liquid. And she says, "So, Finn drained your place dry, except for this." And she presses the bottle into your hand. And it's a very small bottle of whiskey that she seems to have managed to pocket at some point.
Is this the 272 reserve? I was afraid that he had gotten to that.
I kept it safe for you, Agner. Take a drink. You might need it for this.
Yeah, I need it for many, many more reasons, but I really appreciate that. "Ah, gods." And then he'll uncork it and take a nice long swig. Okay. Yeah, all right. What's up? What's up?
So, while you were gone, Finnegan, he helped me work on something. He's a pretty intelligent man, you know. Uh, though he claims, and almost as impressive as him, but obviously not as much, woman taught him a few things too. But I wanted to do something for you, and he agreed to help me.
Okay.
Now, I can't do this very often, and it takes a lot of my strength. And it will only last a minute. And it might be a little overwhelming.
Okay.
Are you ready?
Ready as I'll ever be, Ellie.
She gently places 3 fingertips to the middle of your forehead, and you hear her mutter some words quietly under her breath. And then your mind is filled with a bright light. It starts white, but then starts to even out into other colors. You get oranges and reds, and then shadowy greens and browns. And then you can pick out something. You can see your house. And then Ellie moves into view. And she's looking intensely at you with like an evaluating look. And she says quietly, "Did it work?"
Agner stammers a little bit, and a single tear rolls down his cheek. This can't be happening.
I mean, it worked perfectly when I did it with Finn. You can see me, right? And you can see like her voice is moving at the same time as her mouth. Like,
Yeah.
she's moving. It's
Yeah, he like does that. He does like the kind of lip reading thing and just like verifies that everything is as it is. And he looks over to his house and he sees that his house is kind of the same, but it's obviously been patched up, just like Ellie was saying. He sees Ein off in the distance. That's actually the. No, he would have seen Ein
Yeah.
back in the
Sorry,
day.
once,
So he remembers that big lumbering owl bear, and he sees it all and it all clicks into place, and he says, "Yeah, it worked. How? What? Why?"
Finn helped me to modify a spell to do it. Why? I wanted to do this for you.
Ellie, I'm not deserving of this.
She shakes her head and looks down at the ground and then back up at you again and says, "I can't think of anybody else more deserving, Igner."
Igner screws his eyes shut, and even more tears start to fall. One here, one there, maybe another one welling up right there. I don't know what to say, Ellie.
You don't need to speak at all. Just take it in. You've got, I don't know, 30 seconds left. What do you want to do? Do you want to like?
He'll cast his eyes around. He'll just kind of like whip around really quick and just like, kind of quickly take in a full like 360 view, and then he'll look back at Ellie, at her face for a good full second, and then he'll look over at the very spectacular sunset. It's almost like she planned this or something, It's almost like she was like perfectly planned or whatever. But I'm sure there is a absolutely spectacular watercolor display of clouds of the sun filtering through the clouds at all these different levels, different bands of gorgeous color just blending into each other. And for a guy who hasn't seen anything this gorgeous in a while, yeah, he's just completely struck and completely overwhelmed. And he looks back at Ellie and says, "Can we just look at the sunset?"
Of course.
And then he'll look over at the sunset and, you know, without even really like thinking about it, put his arm over her shoulders.
She doesn't say anything. She stands with you and watches the sunset. And then after about 30 seconds, the colours start to fade until it eventually disappears back into blackness.
At that point, Agner will kind of he'll retract his arm just because he needs to put them on his face, and because he feels the tears welling up even more. The return to blackness, the return to the void, it just hits him just about as hard as the temporary sight did, and he'll just be lost in his emotions and in his tears a bit. He'll get kind of sob-y, you know. He'll sob a little bit, and he'll try and speak through the snot and the tears. You know how you get that way where you get really cryy, and then you want to like talk through it, and then he just says like, I'm sorry, I'm never like this. I'm sorry that you had to see this."
Don't need to apologize, Agner. It's... Yeah, I can only imagine how overwhelming that would have been, and perhaps I should have given you my warning, but I don't know how there was a way to warn you quite.
Yeah, and I wouldn't have believed you anyway. So it's good that you just did it, you know?
Well, now that I know how to do it, that doesn't have to be the last time. I can't do it a lot. Like I said, it takes a lot of energy, but
I understand. I think it would be prudent to save this ability for emergency situations, perhaps.
agreed. Oh, you know, next time there's just a really pretty sunset we can watch together.
I mean, it's you who's doing it after all. So I mean, it's ultimately up to you.
Just bring
Ellie.
it on him.
It's,
Slap his forehead
yeah.
every now
Gah! Yeah, Ellie, you've given me a gift that I never, ever thought was possible.
Well, I'm glad. I'm really glad I could do this for you. I've been searching for a way to try and give you something back for a long time.
The least I can do now is give you something. And that's when he'll reach into his pouch and pull out the sword hilt that he picked up from the Asmar lady, Fenya, and says, "I haven't quite figured out everything about it, but I imagine that you'll be able to."
She takes it. Thank you.
Thank you.
And then head back into the room,
Yeah,
the building. Yeah.
sure.
Walk quietly back into the room.
Agner will walk in, taking another swig of the 272 reserve. I think that's what I called it.
anyone want to say or do anything?
As they walk in, all three of the other characters are like, ooh.
I mean, they were only gone for like a minute and a half. So.
Good, like, couple of
Yeah.
minutes at least. Walk
Well.
there, have a talk a little more, walk back. It was good, like, yeah.
I mean, it's an ooh-worthy amount of time, I think.
Ooh.
Eridu's just, like, trying to piece his staff back together again and just goes, "That was fast, Agner. I'd hope I taught you something."
Yeah, look, hey, instead of talking some shit, how about you have a sip of this? How about that, okay?
No,
Maybe
no.
that'll snap your lips up.
That's how it is. One of those moments where I'm not muted and I read someone's comment and it makes me laugh out loud.
Yeah.
Oh, I haven't even.
Oh, you should look. It's pretty good.
Heath made with the zingers. I love it.
Yeah, it's probably a good zinger to go ahead and end our episode on, huh?
Well, I mean, if there was, I don't know, anything else that we need to talk about or whatever, or what?
Pretty sure the
what's
rest
our-
of the group is feeling pretty somber at the moment.
pretty somber. Well, Carrie, do you have anything in mind for a closing scene?
Yeah, I think them all sitting back down on the table, all back together again.
Yeah, Egner will has this for a closing scene. Egner will sit down and he'll say, "Everybody, I know we've been through a lot, but it's time to celebrate." And he'll grab from up on a shelf a handful of shot glasses and he'll set them all out and go, and he'll pretty much use the whole bottle of the 272 Reserve, and he'll pour a good sized portion for every person at the table, and he'll say, "Stew's on. Give me just a little bit. Stew's on."
We'll smile and hand and give her shot glass to Agner and say, "You deserve a second one."
Thank you. All right. So with that, thank you everybody for joining us on another Tuesday afternoon. This has been session 6, the final session of episode
The final
12.
session.
Yeah. This has been episode 12, Finnegan's Finporium, and we hope that you enjoyed it. We sure did. And please join us next Tuesday when we will be starting up a new episode. If you're new to the stream, I'll tell you a little bit about how this goes. Every new episode, which is like a new adventure arc, is done by a different dungeon master. And with the cycle that we have going on, next it's going to be Drew right there over in that corner. Title of his episode is To Be Determined, but stick around and continue this crazy old story with us. We love you. Thanks for joining us today. Have a good one.